Welcome back to Boomer's Playground, and today we're going to be doing 2.9 about comparisons. We know many comparison operators from math. So we have greater than or equals, or less than or equals, and just straight equals. Key thing to see here is it's two equal signs, because remember the single equal signs means assignment. It does not mean are these the same thing. And then also we have not equals, which is just the exclamation point followed by the equals sign. And so that's just checking to see if two things are not the same. We're going to learn about some different types of comparisons. So Boolean checks, just yes, correct, or true. False means no, wrong, or not true. So when we're doing these checks, it's going to give us back a true or false Boolean value. So 2 is 2 greater than 1? It is, so we get true. So so we'll do 2 greater than 1. A is true. Is 2 equal to 1? Nope. It's false. So A is false. And is 2 not equal to 1? That is true because 2 and 1 are not the same. And we get true. Oh, that was double A. Don't worry about that. I accidentally hit AA instead of just the singular A. And then, so we can set it equal to a variable. So this will just be true because 5 is greater than 4. So this evaluates. It says, hey, this is true. And then it throws true, the Boolean value true, into this result variable. String comparisons are interesting. You can use these, but most of the time, if you're doing a string, you're mainly going to be checking if it's equal to something or not equal to something. Rarely are you going to check greater than or less than. But I think this is just good for everybody to know. So is capital A greater than capital Z? And notice that I said capital A and capital Z because lowercase z is not the same as uppercase Z in JavaScript. Same with A and every other letter. The lowercase version is not the same as the uppercase version. So they're not equal to each other. So you're probably curious, you're like, oh, interesting. I wonder why that is. Why did this happen this way? So what it is every letter, or pretty much every thing on your keyboard, more or less, has a value associated to it. And so it's going to be this decimal value here. So we got capital A right here. That's value is actually the number of 65. And now again, look, we have a lowercase a here, which is a different number. So you got to make sure you check the right one. So the uppercase is 65 and the uppercase Z is 90. So what's bigger, 90 or 65? So essentially all this is really doing is putting 65 there and putting 90 there, and that's how it's doing that math. And so you don't have to remember these. This is not something you traditionally, like I said, you don't, I don't think you would ever use this. I can't see a use case for it. This one's a little different. So it's going to check letter by letter until one of them is greater than or not. So capital G is the same as capital G. So we don't say anything so they're the same weight right now. Then lowercase l and lowercase l are the same. And then we have we have lowercase o and lowercase e. So let's go to our chart. So lowercase e is 101. Lowercase o is 111. So G and G are the same, L and L are the same. O is bigger than E, so it's just going to stop right there. It doesn't even care about the rest of it, and it's just going to give us true. And then same here, capital B the same, lowercase e. And then we have one more value here, so this is just automatically bigger because there's nothing else to compare it to. And so we're going to get that true value. Don't trip on this. Don't stress on this. Yeah, I've not seen these operators on strings, but it's good to know because maybe like in a code interview, if somebody asks you, you can be like, oh, hey, I know how that works. Yeah, and so here it's just kind of explaining what it's doing there. Yeah, and then here, capital A is not the same as lower a, and that's just the same for every single letter that has a lowercase and an uppercase version of it. When comparing values of different types, JavaScript converts the values to numbers. So 2 is greater than 1. The string of 2 actually becomes the number 2, and 2 is greater than 1. 0, 1 converted to a number is going to be 1 because the 0 doesn't matter, and 1 does equal 1. So in that second instance, yeah, so you can, if you're ever just curious, just do number and then put the thing in there, and it'll show you what it's doing. So you'll see we get 1. Any leading zeros just get dropped off because they don't matter in math, right? There's no value to them. And then here, again, this is going to try and convert this to a number. True's numerical value is 1, so 1 does equal 1. And here, false's numerical value is 0, so 0 does equal 0. That's why we get true. Here's a funny consequence. So a equals 0, the Boolean of a is false, because false is 0. Then we have this string of the number 0. So again, remember this Boolean, this is a truthy value because there's just something in there, even if it happens to be a 0. It's because it's a string. But then when we do a equals b, we check to see if they're the same, we get true. Well, how the hell is that the case? We have the number 0 and we have the string of 0. So it's going to jump into the strict equality next, and we'll keep this example by, but what happens is when you use the double equal sign, it only checks value. So from JavaScript standpoint, this result is quite normal. Any equality check converts values using the numerical conversion. So because it's 2, we're only checking values. A is a number of 0, so we try and convert it to a number of 0. Nothing happens because it's already a number. B is the string of 0. We convert that to a number, and we get the number of 0. And hence we get 0 equals 0, which is true. Now, we're going to look at the strict equality, which is 3 equal signs. And so what this does is this checks for type and value. So we had that 0, we had that 0. So if we do A equals B, that is true because all it cares about is the value. It converts this to a number, so we're really just doing 0 equals 0. Now when you do 3 equal signs or the strict equality, it does not convert them to a number. Yeah, so the equality, an empty string is just like false becomes a 0. What would you do? A strict equality operator checks the equality without type conversion. Yeah, so it doesn't convert the types. So it's literally checking the number 0 and the string of 0, and those are not the same thing. And so we do get false. I would never use the double equals. If you find yourself in a spot where that's the only way you can get it to work, at the beginning, that's fine, go ahead. But in the reality of it, if you can only get something to work with this double equals, you have some data type inconsistency in your code somewhere. You're getting a string instead of a number or a number instead of a string, and you're not handling it properly. So at the beginning, it's kind of okay if you got to use the double equals, but I would try like 30 minutes to an hour. If you ever get stuck on your projects and a double equals is the only way you can get it to work, spend 30 minutes to an hour trying to figure out where you're going wrong with console logs and the debugger, which I think we'll go over in further chapters, because you almost always want to use the triple equals. So null and undefined, there is non-intuitive behavior when null or undefined are compared to other values. For the strict equals check, they're different because they're their own types. But for the non-strict, there's a special rule. These two are a sweet couple. They equal each other in the sense of the not strict check, but not any other value. For maths and other comparisons, null and undefined are converted to numbers. Null will be 0. Undefined is not a number. Now let's see some funny things. All right, so is null greater than 0? We get false, and that's because null gets converted to a number, which is 0, and 0 is not greater than 0. Here, we get false because we have the double equals. Oh, because it's the equals, it doesn't convert null to a number. So it's just the type of null and 0, which is going to be false. And this one will be true because it's not, so we actually have the greater than or less than sign. So null is going to get converted to a number, which is 0. And is 0 greater than or equal to 0? Yes, it is. So here the reason is that an equality check and comparisons work differently. Comparisons convert null to a number. On the other hand, the equality check for undefined and null is defined such that without any conversions, they equal each other and don't equal anything else. So that's why we got false for this null equals 0. The value undefined shouldn't be compared to other values. Yeah, I would never do that. I can't think of a reason you would do that. We get the results. The reason this is false is, again, because we have this gets converted to a number, which when you convert undefined to a number, we get not a number. And then if you take not a number, check against that, it's false because they're not the same thing. Same thing happens here. And then here, like we set up there in the equality, undefined is equal to null in the non-strict equality and not equal to anything else. Why did we go over them? These are just some oddball things. These will creep up. You will run into these weird edge cases where you're like, holy crap, I know my code is good. Why is it breaking? And some of the times it will just be these things, and there's just not much you can do about it. You just get used to it, and that'll happen. So summary, we went over comparison operators for Booleans, for strings, for numbers. We looked at what happens when we're doing greater than, less than, or greater than equals, or less than equals. And then we talked about the non-strict equality and the strict equality. So let's jump down here. Let's see what we get. All right, this is just going to be true because it's just a simple number versus number. So this one will start with A and P. So let's jump to lowercase a is 97 and lowercase p is 112. So right out of the gate, A is smaller than P, so this will be false. This will get converted. Oh no, because they're both strings, it's not going to convert them to numbers. It's actually going to check against their string values. So 2 would be greater than 1 in the string form. So this should be true, I think. Yep, cool. Yeah, and so just to show, so like let's say one of these wasn't a number, it would convert the other to a number, and then we would get what we kind of see. But because they're both strings, it doesn't attempt to change them. Undefined equals null is true. Again, the non-strict equality, undefined and null are the same, but they are not equal to anything else. The strict equals, this is false because they're two different types. Null equals. So this I think will be false because null is not equal to anything except undefined. That's a good one. I actually don't know. Let's see, null equals. I actually think they're both false for that reason, because null is only equal to undefined in the non-strict, and it's not equal to anything else. And then in the triple equals, it's only equal to itself, I think. So we got this n0 n. Okay, cool. So we do get false because, again, null doesn't get converted because it's the equals, the quality check. And then I can almost guarantee we'll do plus and 0, 2. So this is still going to be false. And even though this will, because we have this unary operator here, it will convert this to a number. So it'll get rid of all the white space and it will just have 0. But again, because we're doing the equality, null doesn't get converted to a number. So let's see if we're right. So true, false, true, true, false, false, false. Cool. Yep, so we got all those right. Okay, cool. So yeah, so we went over all the comparisons. There's some weird tricks. There's some weird things. You'll run into them when you're building your first couple projects, and it's gonna suck because it usually takes you a while to find out where these are. But that's just the name of the game, and that's just how it goes. So I hope you guys learned something today. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.